Coming up tonight on News Center Now, the latest track, the latest damage, the latest numbers from Hurricane Dorian. Also, a question. If you go to help the victims of Hurricane Dorian and something unforeseen happens, are you covered by some sort of Good Samaritan policy? We'll check it out.
Plus, all is calm on the mid-coast for now. This will all change tomorrow when remnants of Dorian make their way here. How two Mainers are getting married outdoors and they're embracing the storm. This is News Center Now. Good Friday evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Lindsay Mills.
And I'm Lee Nelson. Lots to get to tonight. We'll begin with the hurricane. It continues its relentless path of destruction, making a direct hit on the North Carolina barrier islands this morning. Rising water has flooded Ocracoke Island, where rescues are underway now for people who ignored those mandatory evacuation orders.
Meanwhile, a massive humanitarian operation continues in the Bahamas. Here's Jay Gray.
After stalking the Atlantic coast for days, Dorian finally makes landfall in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The Category 1 hurricane swallowing the barrier islands. National Guard members flying in supplies to residents now trapped on Ocracoke Island. Several feet of storm surge pushing the ocean into homes across the Outer Banks.
Officials are telling people to get to the highest point in their houses.
There are no houses left across miles of the northern Bahamas, where Dorian began its attack as a Category 5 storm.
We have nothing left. All of our homes are destroyed. We have nowhere to go.
Battered residents who've lost everything now looking for any way to get out.
It's horrible. You can't live here.
Cruise ships loaded with relief supplies are making the short trip from the Florida coast.
I hope it gives a lot of hope to the Bahamians when they see us that help is on the way.
Hope and help that is desperately needed right now. Jay Gray, NBC News.
So when hurricanes like Dorian happen, we always hear about community members jumping into action to help those in crisis, right?
Yeah, and in an emergency, of course, anything can happen. So are there any laws to protect Good Samaritans who jump in during a disaster? To get the answer, we checked state law and spoke to Brian Douglas, a civil litigation attorney. He says all 50 states have some sort of Good Samaritan law in place.
Know that you're covered by Good Samaritan laws as long as you're acting in good faith and you didn't cause the emergency that put people in danger. You're protected from any liability resulting from your actions, even if you fail to rescue them, make a mistake, or unfortunately don't even save their lives.
And we have much more information about this, including a link to that law in Maine at our website and mobile app.
All right, let's talk about our weather and the hurricane. Keith's here to start us off. What you got for us, Keith?
Well, those two are starting to merge now.
Yeah, right.
We've been talking about Dorian for a long time, and now we have some tropical storm warnings in effect over Hancock and Washington County, and then high surf advisories down across the mid-coast and southern coastal Maine. So tropical storm warning obviously sounds scary. We're going to talk more about what that's really going to mean here in a second. Visible satellite showing some of the outer clouds from Dorian that actually technically started moving in yesterday. But if we widen this picture out, there's Dorian right there, and it is a very elongated, stretched out tropical system undergoing its transition to an extratropical cyclone, and so they get stretched on the northern side of it as the jet stream kind of pulls at the top side of the storm. So tonight we start to get some of the showers from the very outer bands of Dorian, and that continues through tomorrow morning. Some heavy bands of rain possible tomorrow morning, especially along the immediate coastline. I will tell you that as you head farther inland, this is less and less impactful. It'll be showers with a breeze, essentially. But from Rockland and certainly Bar Harbor to the north and east, that's our area we're watching tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night for the strongest wind gusts, the heaviest rainfall as well, and then this pulls away. By the way, hammering the Canadian Maritimes with this storm as it's going right over them. But guys, even though we have a tropical storm warning, I'm going to talk in a few minutes about why this probably won't be any worse than our average nor'easter for down East Maine.
Alrighty, Keith, sounds good. We'll check back with you in a few. Taking a look at some headlines from around our state, Governor Janet Mills made a big decision today on ranked choice voting in the presidential primary. She is choosing to let the bill go into law without her signature. This will go into effect for, again, next year's primaries. Under the system, voters would rank each candidate on a ballot in order of preference. If no candidate gets more than 50% of the vote, the last place person is eliminated, and then the second choice votes of everybody who ranked that candidate first are allocated until somebody does get 50% or more.
Officials with the Trump re-election campaign say Maine's former governor Paul LePage will be the president's honorary campaign chairman here in Maine. LePage had campaigned with Trump, who visited the state 5 times when he ran in 2016. The former governor also took several trips to Washington to visit the Trump administration officials there.
And a kind of a graphic story to tell you about. This man from the town of Hope is accused of sexually abusing a dog. According to court documents, Nicolais Hill has been charged with cruelty to animals for, quote, intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly committing bestiality on an animal. The dog was owned by Hill's former roommate. Hill's ex-girlfriend shared a video of the abuse with the former roommate, who then brought it to police. That roommate, Joseph Simmons, alleges the bestiality happened repeatedly and might have gone on for months. Hill was arrested and brought to the Knox County Jail.
In other news, former South Portland Police Lieutenant Frank Clark is sworn in today as Portland's new police chief. He served with the South Portland Police Department since 1988. He served in a number of different capacities, including acting police chief. Clark says he is excited to come over the bridge and get to work on issues he feels are important.
Looking at ways to reduce crime, both in our response and our proactivity to it. Looking at ways to enhance quality of life and dealing with concerns and complaints that may be here in the city, and doing it in a way that's, efficient and effective.
And it was a special day for his mom as well. She was given a key to the city. Very sweet.
All right, quick break coming up. A boxing champ is sharing her story about helping to save kids here in Maine.
And these wedding bells will not be silenced by heavy winds and rain. We'll meet a Maine couple getting ready to say I do despite Dorian's march up the coast. Welcome back. A boxing champion is sharing her personal story to help save kids in Maine at risk for child sexual abuse. Liz Letty is a 3-time National Golden Gloves boxing champion. Homeless and living on the streets since she was 13, she says boxing helped her escape from sex trafficking. The CDC says nearly 90% of victims of sex trafficking were sexually abused as children.
Now, Liz's incredible story of overcoming adversity is featured in a public service announcement that will be shown at the upcoming Keep Kids Safe Maine Community Conference for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse. Liz hopes her message of hope and healing will help other victims.
It takes time to heal, especially complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is usually the case from sexual assault. And most often that, a female who has found herself in addiction or sex trafficking, she would have suffered that as a child.
So coming up, this is a 3-day event. It is free and open to the public. It gets underway next Thursday at the First Baptist Church in Portland. Another quick break, but a lot more coming up, including how Dorian will not put a damper on a special Maine wedding this weekend. That story's next.
And Keith gives us a first look at his weekend forecast. True. This is so true. Yeah.
So they say rain on your wedding day is good luck. I don't know if I believe that, but they do say it, right? What about remnants of a hurricane? Okay, there is a couple in the mid-coast getting ready to tie the knot.
Instead of altering their plans for their outdoor altar, they're embracing the storm.
Hopefully nobody capsizes, and it is what it is.
It's not often you'll find a bride concerned about capsizing on her wedding. Up until this point, everything was squared away, from their oceanfront garden venue in Cushing to their signature drink, a dark and stormy.
That might have been part of our problem here.
Yeah, we might have jinxed ourselves.
Louisa Creighton-Smith and her soon-to-be husband Brigham Prescott are getting married Saturday, but they caught wind an unexpected guest is trying to crash.
Mother Nature.
The mother of the bride refraining from going mama bear on Mother Nature. The remnants of Hurricane Dorian expected to brush the coast of Maine during the outdoor ceremony and reception.
It's easy for us to be cavalier about it when down in the Bahamas the same storm has really issued all sorts of destruction and catastrophe. So we're bearing that in mind, and even though it's a storm, we're mindful of how relatively lucky we are.
Instead of letting Dorian derail their big plans, this bride and groom are ordering ponchos for the guests and marching down the aisle as planned, although their march will be powered by motor.
They're going to take a small flotilla of boats from here across the cove to the garden nearby where the ceremony will take place.
The bride and groom ready for the bumpy ride, taking what they can't control in stride.
It's definitely going to come up and hit exactly when we're supposed to get married.
Yeah, we kind of always knew that was a possibility this time of year, but we figured we were going to go for it no matter what. And yeah, rainy day, we will still have a great time, and friends and family are all here. No matter what, it'll be a good day.
Prepared for the good days and the bad days, and to weather the storm together. In Cushing, Maine, Lindsay Mills.
So the coolest thing about that is they're going to take that little escort by boat from the camp to the ceremony site, and one of the drivers of the boats was actually a whitewater rafting instructor in Alaska, so they feel like they're in good hands.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully it doesn't get to that point.
I know.
We're thinking about that.
But Keith, I love this story because the mom of the bride reached out to you to see, what's the deal here.
Right,
so
right.
actually, they put a lot of confidence in you.
I said I didn't. I told her I didn't love it. I said the wedding will be okay. I'm not sure about the flotilla.
Yeah.
I just love the use of the word flotilla.
Right.
I
It's
do
like
too.
an invasion or instead of Viking funeral or something. I don't know. Let's talk about Dorian. Interesting, the National Hurricane Center just indicated they think it could go to a Cat 2 again before it hits the Canadian Maritimes. So it might be a big deal for them. Although, once again, they get some pretty strong storms. Here's a look at the visible satellite. It was a nice day for most of us, but those clouds are the leading edge of Dorian. There's Dorian right down here. See how far south it sits within this cloud shield. We just talked about how it gets stretched out, becoming what we call a mid-latitude cyclone, which is almost every storm that hits us is classified as that. And it gets stretched out by the jet stream on the northern side, and then the storm core stays intact. But you'll see the whole thing stretch tomorrow as it gets closer to Maine. So overnight tonight, we'll see more clouds rolling in. It should be relatively quiet when most of us are up. But after that, start to see some rain moving in late tonight, early tomorrow morning, and it will be a coastal event. We've known that all along. You head farther inland, it's just a cloudy, breezy day. But along the immediate coastline, especially from the mid-coast into down east, it will be raining heavily at times, and it'll be very windy through the afternoon and into probably right around or a little bit before sunset, before this totally clears out. And then we are in good shape actually on Sunday. Isolated sprinkle in the mountains, but most of us a mixture of sun and clouds and a decent day in the 60s. But, I talked about this tropical storm warning, and the National Hurricane Center works in conjunction with the National Weather Service to issue these. So it's for Hancock and Washington County coastal areas there. And here's my concern or issue with this is that tropical storm warning, for it to verify is correct, means that you're going to have sustained winds of 39 miles an hour or more. Sustained, not gusts. And to give you an idea, here's what the models are thinking for wind gusts, not sustained. Through tomorrow, 29, 30 miles an hour. Through the afternoon here, we start to get to 40. Notice down East Maine is in the low 40s, mid 40s. I could see a gust of 50, 55. But what I don't see happening is sustained winds of 39 miles an hour or more continuously. So that's why I think that I understand the concept behind the warning. I don't think it will turn out being necessary, however. And the winds will be strong enough to cause some power outages over down East Maine, but I think they will be relatively scattered in nature. Guys, the swells though, if you like watching waves, good day for that. Tomorrow afternoon, you need a rain jacket probably, but some really big waves right offshore, crashing onshore. We don't have storm surge problems because it's moving too quickly. It's not really an issue. So again, not to downplay it in the truest sense, it will be notably windy tomorrow over down East Maine.
Okay.
But it's notably windy there quite a bit. And so I take that with a grain of salt. It's almost as if they could geographically apply that to softer areas of the country, it might mean more. But that coast, the way it's set up, I just don't think it's going to be a huge issue. There'll be some trees down here and there, but that's about it.
All right.
Good deal.
All right. It sounds like it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Keith, very much. All right, this is kind of interesting. Federal officials set the internet on fire last month by suggesting that we should leave our thermostats at 82 degrees overnight. Okay.
That seems pretty hot, doesn't it?
That doesn't seem comfortable for sleeping to me.
No, it was more about saving money, I guess, than a good night's sleep. It sounded a little uncomfortable, so we wondered, what does science say is the perfect sleep temperature for your health? Here's Ryan Cody.
My thermostat stays at about 71.
72, 73.
When you go to sleep at night, what do you set your thermostat at?
We keep it at like 77.
72. We're all different, but one thing remains the same.
The world revolves around sleep.
Don't sleep on Dr. Joyce Lee Ionati's advice. She runs the Sleep Center at Banner University, where patients come to catch some Z's in hopes of learning how to sleep better.
You have to get good sleep in order to function during the day. Summertime, insomnia rates are especially high, and people are complaining about difficulty falling asleep.
Especially when the Department of Energy is recommending people set their thermostats at 82 degrees while they sleep.
Not at all.
That's way too hot. That'd be really uncomfortable, I think, because we've had it at 75 before and it wakes me up.
Your brain likes cooler temperatures at night.
The National Sleep Foundation recommends a temperature between 60 and 67 degrees.
And I know that sounds really cold, but that actually promotes good quality sleep.
It also promotes ridiculous energy bills in the summer.
It would be quite the electricity bill. I would love that, but my roommates would not.
So Dr. Lee Ionati recommends a more realistic approach.
Generally, I say between 65 to 75 degrees, and I think that's a more of a practical recommendation.
Practical for your health and your wallet.
I sleep when it's cold.
I know.
Then you can bundle up.
The windows open in winter.
Yeah. Well, maybe sometimes.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom Brady is at it once again on social media. Once again, finding time to work on throwing passes to himself. This is really cool, though. Check out the football. Brady very proud that this is his 20th season in the league. Hopefully he can break out this play during Sunday's game against the Steelers, throw it to himself. Speaking of that game, by the way, yes, you can see it right here on News Center Maine, Sunday at 8:20 p.m., and we're going to have tons of coverage leading up to kickoff, including a social media show at 11 and TV coverage starting at 6 o'clock. We'll hope you join us for that.
All right, 4 kids in Ogunquit knew exactly what to do, or more importantly, exactly what not to do when they spotted a seal pup at the beach. Police in Ogunquit gave a shout out to the kids on social media for calling Marine Mammals of Maine when they saw the seal pup on the beach and kept a safe distance from the mammal. Marine Mammals of Maine say that when seals are continually approached, they don't get a chance to rest and then end up returning to the ocean more exhausted than when they left, which could lead to their death, which is not good.
Stay away. They're cute, but stay away. Another quick little Hurricane Dorian update. Video of an SUV abandoned on Myrtle Beach in South Carolina quickly gained the internet's attention. Police said to the station WMBF that somebody decided to drive the Jeep out on the beach. That driver then got stuck and decided to abandon it. And the car just stayed there as waves hit it, and people got plenty of good pictures, I guess. As a result of this, the hashtag JeepWatch has been trending on social media. Well, today, video shows the vehicle being towed away, signaling the end of JeepWatch.
Bye, JeepWatch. Well, we are now we're now close to the end of fair season here in Maine. The Clinton Lions Agricultural Fair and Litchfield Fair kick off this week. So here's some video from Litchfield today. Just 6 agricultural fairs left on the calendar. The Freiburg Fair is the last one of the season. That happens October 6th. And on an upcoming 207, Amanda Hill will show us about a program that introduces kids to agriculture by having them try things out for themselves.
All right, we obviously have a lot more news coming up at 5:30, including the latest on a standoff in Saco that's been going on for several hours. Also, Maine's public advocate speaks out against Central Maine Power. This comes just days after the PUC said weather was the cause for the spike in the customers' bills for CMP. The public advocate says not so fast.
And there have been a lot of monarch butterflies in Maine this year. Some people like to catch the caterpillars and watch them turn into butterflies. But is it safe to be raising them like that? We'll find out the answer to that and much more local news ahead on News Center Maine at 5:30.
All right, quick break and Brain Drops.
All right, so today's Brain Drops is, I don't know if you've heard of this. In the nerd world, I have heard of this before, but I still think it's cool.
Then I wouldn't have heard it.
Right, you haven't heard of it. So this was this is a web camera. Was this South Carolina, Isaac? I'm trying to remember where I found this picture from, but it's very grainy, but there's several birds in the eye of Dorian. A lot of birds in the eye of Dorian. Okay. So this is a known thing that happens. Let's go, there's some more there. Let's go to the next image, and you can see it on radar. And this was actually Hurricane Matthew. Was it last year or the year before?
It was last year.
That there's a very clear signature of, we're going to need the image. I'm not that good at with
birds.
The memory. All right, there we go. Right here. So this is radar. This is all rain here. This is what's called differential reflectivity. What that means is it's trying to spot different sized objects within the storm.
Got it.
Sometimes this can be useful when you're trying to find debris balls for tornadoes or something. But what it's telling you here is rain, 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 birds.
That's
a bunch of birds. And
crazy.
The reason for this is probably what you can imagine. Some of them get trapped in there. So they're flying across. There's a bunch of nasty weather through the eye wall. They just want to get out of it. They keep flying. They find a calm area in the middle, and they instinctively stay there for a while. So they might be going, I mean, they're big circles. This is not like they don't know it's a circle necessarily. And they fly around, and if it weakens enough, some birds try to escape it, or if it goes over land, some birds can land and wait for it to go by. But other birds can be transported, like in this case, from the Bahamas up into the mid-Atlantic, because there's no good time for them to get out. And eventually, and I think that this is the sad part, I believe some birds also die because you can only fly for so long.
Without access to food
nonstop.
and water. Yeah. Is it mostly seagulls, or what kind of birds are we talking?
That's a good question. I mean, I think a lot of them are ocean birds in general, but it depends on where they come from. And this is how they started to realize that they could be transported, is they would find birds in the continental United States that are not indigenous to that area. And then they'd realize, well, this storm just came through, and the birds came with it. So anyways, I didn't know if people knew that or not, but I think it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
So bird watchers, take note, because you might be seeing some things.
If you see some tropical stuff, that's been a long haul for that bird. You know, this storm, because it stalled for so long, it must have offloaded some birds around the Grand Bahama and then picked up some ocean birds along the way.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Really interesting. Thanks,
That's what
Keith.
it's for.
That does it for us. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.